At 0730 hours on May 21st, 2021, the visitor log at the Marble Canyon Ranger Station recorded E. Morales, D. Reynolds, South Rim Trail, overnight permit. The pen strokes are steady, the pressure consistent. Surveillance footage from the vending alcove shows them purchasing water, a map, and 2 electrolyte bars, routine, unremarkable. The ranger noted cloud cover thinning, temperature stable. A group from Page, Arizona passes behind them, laughing about mileage estimates. Outside, a hawk crosses the morning glare. Reynolds adjusts the GPS wristband, checks coordinates, nods once. This became the final verified image before disappearance. Within hours, their route vanished from visible track, leaving only intermittent location pings along the Vermilion Cliffs. The footage ends with the line item from Field Log Entry 197. Subjects departed base trail. Expected return May 22nd. Contact lost thereafter. It was not the start of an adventure. It was the last moment known. By early morning on May 21st, 2021, Elena Morales and Daniel Reynolds departed the Marble Canyon trailhead after a night stay at Lee's Ferry Campground. They were both seasoned hikers. Morales, 24, a student of environmental science at Northern Arizona University. Reynolds, 25, freelance photographer known for low-light desert captures. Ranger Hollis verified permit accuracy, noting proper gear, balanced rations, tuned radio beacon. The physical compliance painted their disappearance as statistically abnormal. Search data from the Arizona Missing Hiker Archive confirms fewer than 12 unresolved cases within that sector between 2015 and 2020. A vehicle dashboard camera recorded them turning off U.S. Highway 89A. Morales' hand briefly visible adjusting the music dial, last ordinary gesture. The recurring motif appears here first, the signature on the trail register, ink smudge at the R of Reynolds. Later analysis marked that smudge as their first trace of disorientation, a transfer of dust and moisture. Andrea Morales, Elena's sister, provided investigators with text messages from the previous evening. Elle's last message was about photography spots they planned to hit. She'd mapped them meticulously, said something about Daniel wanting the right angle on the limestone strata. Andrea's voice remained steady in the recorded interview, though her fingers traced the edge of her phone case repeatedly. Weather logs confirm standard desert conditions, morning temperature 64 degrees Fahrenheit, rising to 91 by midday. Barometric pressure stable. Wind from the southwest at 12 miles per hour. Nothing to suggest imminent danger. The desert morning unfolded with methodical precision. Camera footage from a passing tour bus shows Morales adjusting her backpack straps, Reynolds consulting a topographic map. They move with the confidence of experienced hikers, familiar with desert terrain and its hazards. Their vehicle remained in the visitor parking area, cataloged under the overnight permit system. Inside, 2 spare water bottles, a jacket, emergency blanket, and Reynolds' backup camera battery, all standard preparation for return. Search and rescue coordinator Sarah Weaver would later note in her preliminary assessment, they followed every protocol, signed in, left itinerary, carried appropriate emergency equipment. This wasn't inexperience or poor planning. The trail register entry shows precise handwriting for both names. The time notation neat, deliberate. Below it, 23 other parties would sign that day, moving through the same terrain without incident. Routine is the camouflage of catastrophe. By nightfall on May 22nd, their empty campsite at the designated overnight location would become the first anomaly in a sequence of absence. Trail register signature logged 0730 hours. Contact confirmed. Return pending. By 1400 hours, the Vermilion Plateau registered surface winds of 30 miles per hour. GPS signal at coordinate grid Alpha 7 dropped twice. A nearby hiker, Terry Liu, reported visual of a couple resting along Strata Ridge, looked calm, sharing water. The timestamp on Liu's GoPro, 1421. Reconstruction audio overlays depict gusts against the mic, distant laughter, flap of tarp fabric. Later, forensic analysts emphasized this footage as the final environmental snapshot under daylight control. The shift was subtle. A cold draft signaled barometric instability, common but dangerous. Morales' last text, timestamped 1602, to her sister, "We're fine, CUTMRW." It sent but didn't deliver. National Weather Service archives confirm an unexpected pressure front moved through the region that afternoon. Not severe enough to trigger warnings, but sufficient to create unpredictable wind tunnels through canyon corridors. Meteorologist Devin Hargrove described the phenomenon in later testimony. The canyon system creates its own microclimate. Winds funnel and accelerate. What feels like a breeze at rim level can become disorienting gusts below. Satellite imaging from 1615 hours shows cloud shadow passing over the Vermilion Cliffs, cooling surface temperatures by 7 degrees within 20 minutes. A typical fluctuation in desert environments, but one that changes hiking calculations. Another group traversing the parallel ridge path reported radio interference around 1600 hours. Static kept cutting in, reported hiker Marcus Williams. "We thought it was just atmospheric, so we didn't report it until after." The atmospheric layers reflect in recorded fragments. Wind against rock faces, radio channel bursts of static, the distant call of a red-tailed hawk, limestone dust lifting into diminishing sunlight. Hydrologist Anna Peterson reviewing conditions during the investigation noted, "The barometric shift would have influenced water availability. Springs that were flowing in the morning might have reduced output by afternoon. In a canyon system, such changes aren't always visible until you're committed to your route." Reynolds' online portfolio, accessed during investigation, showed his particular interest in capturing threshold moments, his term for transitional light between afternoon and evening. Colleagues confirmed his tendency to extend hiking times to reach optimal photography positions before sunset. Forensic recreation of their likely path suggests they would have reached the narrow passage between Cathedral Wash and Soap Creek around 1630 hours. The area features limited visibility, steep descents, and multiple branch points, not all marked on standard park maps. Park incident records from the previous 5 years documented 3 separate cases of hikers becoming temporarily disoriented in that exact section during changing light conditions. All were resolved with radio contact, but Morales and Reynolds carried only a single radio beacon, standard issue for pair hikers under park protocol. No backup communication device was registered on their equipment list. Technology increments false safety, the illusion of being locatable. In the search chronology, 1602 becomes a fixed point, the moment civilization missed their signal. A drone training team from a geological field unit captured satellite footage on May 21st at 1637 hours, 2 human silhouettes moving north-northeast near Cathedral Wash. Image resolution insufficient for identification but aligned with timeline search file SRR. 082 lists this as the final corroborated sighting before blank data zones. The canyon terrain, steep and corroded with limestone fissures, interferes with transmission. Interviewed in June, Ranger Hollis stated. We thought they'd circle back. The weather looked deceptive, bright sky but falling barometer. By 4 hours past sunset, neither subject contacted base via radio frequency 158.1. The drone footage, initially overlooked, was discovered during evidence review 3 days into the search. Geological survey technician Maya Orozco had been mapping erosion patterns near Soap Creek when her equipment captured the distant figures. I didn't think anything of it at the time, she testified. Hikers are common in that sector. It was only when the search began that I reviewed my footage. Enhanced imagery analysis confirmed backpack shapes and hiking poles, but couldn't definitively identify facial features. The figures moved with purpose, not displaying signs of distress or disorientation. Tracking specialist Thomas Running Deer, brought in on day 2 of the search, noted peculiarities in their movement pattern. The trail doesn't naturally go that direction. They appeared to be following something, or someone, off the established path. Radio logs from Marble Canyon Station document 3 standard check-in requests between 1800 and 2200 hours. None received response. Protocol dictated waiting until morning before escalation. Standard procedure for overnight permits, with expected return the following day. The night passed. Temperature dropped to 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Infrared satellite monitoring, reviewed retroactively, shows no significant heat signatures in the expected zone. Either they were under rock cover or had moved beyond the monitored perimeter. Andrea Morales' phone shows 8 attempted texts to her sister between 2000 hours and midnight, all marked as undelivered. The cell tower nearest Vermilion Cliffs registered no ping attempts from either Morales' or Reynolds' devices after 1615 hours. Environmental audio reconstruction from nearby automated weather stations captures the sound progression. Afternoon wind diminishing, evening birds calling, then the peculiar silence that settles over desert plateaus after dark. No human voices, no emergency whistles, no flare deployments. Marble Canyon nighttime staff logged normal activity. Rangers conducted standard perimeter checks. The visitor center closed at 2100 hours. Security cameras recorded nothing unusual, only the empty parking space where Morales and Reynolds had left their vehicle that morning. Their absence had not yet transformed into alarm. It remained procedurally categorized as expected return pending, one of 17 such overnight permits issued that week. In documentation, absence appears as white space, but for families, it is a sound, static, repeated endlessly, signal last detected. Transmission ended mid-sentence. When Morales' sister, Andrea, filed the missing persons report at 9:52 a.m., May 23rd, incident protocol initiated automatically. Search log 19 reads, probable dehydration, delayed return. Sheriff's Office mobilized 2 SAR teams, 1 K-9 unit, 1 National Park Service helicopter. The official notes refer to Stage 1 response under normal parameters. Atmosphere clips, rotor turbulence, clipped radio affirmatives, desert grit against rotor wash. Under procedural language resided a low-grade fear. A ranger later admitted off-record during an internal memo, too quiet. Even lost hikers make noise. By the time Andrea Morales arrived at Marble Canyon Ranger Station, the first helicopter was already conducting initial sweep patterns. Search coordinator, Lieutenant Maria Delgado, briefed her with standard missing hiker protocol. We implement search in expanding grid patterns from last known location, the transcript reads. Most delayed returns resolve within 12 hours of search initiation. The mechanical precision of the response was designed to provide reassurance. Coconino County Sheriff's Office deployed Rescue Team Alpha with foreground. Searchers and tracking specialist Cameron Blackhorse. Radio transmissions document their methodical progress. Alpha 1 to base, completing grid Echo 2, moving to Echo 3. Each sentence punctuated by static, wind interference, the crunch of boots on desert soil. Search statistics recited during the first briefing. 78% of missing hikers in the region were located within 24 hours, 92% within 48. These numbers appeared on the whiteboard in the command post, written in blue marker, precise digits meant to counteract rising anxiety. K9 handler Teresa Morris deployed tracking dog Sierra at the trailhead at 11:15 hours. Audio recording captures the dog's eager breathing, the handler's quiet commands, the jingle of equipment as they move along the initial trail segment. Sierra showed strong interest in the path consistent with Morales and Reynolds' departure route, confirming they had indeed started on their planned journey. The search perimeter expanded hourly. Helicopter pilot Commander James Reeves reported, "Visibility excellent, heat signatures minimal. No obvious distress signals visible from air reconnaissance." Meanwhile, Ranger Hollis conducted equipment inventory in the subject's vehicle. Standard gear left behind, his report notes. Nothing missing that would suggest planned extension. The car contained only what experienced hikers would leave: urban clothes, extra water for return, Reynolds' portfolio case. By 1500 hours, the command post had established communications relay points at 3 elevations to maximize radio coverage. Topographic maps covered the briefing table, marked with colored pins indicating completed search sectors. The procedural rhythm continued unbroken, but Lieutenant Delgado's log reveals the first notation of concern: duration beyond typical pattern for experienced hikers in this terrain. At 17:26 hours, Andrea Morales stood at the observation point, watching search teams return for shift change. Audio captures the distant sound of helicopter rotors, the scrape of boots on gravel, radio checks between teams. Her voice breaks the procedural sounds. "My sister doesn't miss check-ins. She just doesn't." Bureaucracy begins in certainty and ends in apology. File classification updated. Missing. Active search. On May 24th, thermal imaging from Air Unit Sierra 3 scanned 8 square miles surrounding Cathedral Wash. Readings negative for human heat signatures. Terrain report noted rock faces exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit at mid-afternoon. Thermal interference. Search Commander Deputy Ruiz wrote in margin, "Continue grid sweep. Minimal vegetation, Papios, low concealment chance." Audio overlay, Sierra 3 to base, grid Alpha 7 clear. Emotion entered only through repetition. The more grids cleared, the more absence accumulated mass. The morning briefing at 0600 hours maintained clinical precision. Deputy Carlos Ruiz, now assigned as search commander, outlined expanded parameters. "We're implementing full spectrum search protocol," he informed the assembled teams. Air, ground, technical climbing units, and extended perimeter sweeps. 28 search personnel signed the deployment log. Each received sector assignments, radio frequencies, and reporting schedules. The map now featured colored grid overlays, Alpha through Hotel, numerically subdivided. Ruiz's handwritten note on the assignment sheet reads, "Thoroughness over speed. Document everything." Grid Alpha 7 encompassed a particularly challenging section where Cathedral Wash narrows between limestone walls. Technical climbing specialist Jessica Parnell led the 3-person team assigned to this sector. Helmet camera footage shows the methodical search process, checking crevices, calling names at regular intervals, marking cleared zones with temporary survey tape. "Elena, Daniel, Search and rescue. The calls echo against stone walls, answered only by wind and the occasional canyon wren. The audio track captures boots on stone, equipment clinks, regulated breathing of searchers working in 90-degree heat. At the command post, Andrea Morales sat with victim advocate Monica Torres, reviewing photographs of her sister's hiking gear for identification purposes. The intake form notes her precision. Subject consistently wore red bandana around wrist. May have switched to blue emergency rain jacket if weather changed. Each detail cataloged, transformed into search parameters. Statistical analysis of missing hiker cases provided by the National Park Service informed search radius calculations. 87% of missing hikers are found within 1 mile of their intended route, 95% within 3 miles. The remaining 5% represent the statistical outliers that search commanders privately dread. By midday, temperatures reached 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Search teams rotated every 4 hours to prevent heat exhaustion. Deputy Ruiz's log notes concern: if subjects remain exposed, dehydration timeline becomes critical at 48 hours. The thermal imaging system mounted on helicopter Sierra 3 represented the most advanced technology available to the search operation. Capable of detecting human heat signatures through vegetation and partial rock cover, it systematically scanned each grid. Pilot recordings document the methodical process. Beginning sweep pattern Alpha 7 south, moving north at quarter-mile intervals. But the system's limitations became apparent as afternoon temperatures rose. The incident technicians report notes: surface rock temperatures exceeding 95 degrees create false reading patterns. Human signatures become difficult to differentiate from solar-heated surfaces. Each cleared grid represented both procedural progress and deepening concern. Search Team Alpha reported clearing sectors 1 through 6 by 1600 hours, their radio transmission preserved in command logs. Alpha Team completing Sector 6, moving to 7, no sign of subjects or equipment. The methodical repetition continued across all teams. Grid by grid, call by call, the absence of response transformed from expectation to abnormality. By sunset, 22 grid sectors had been cleared and documented. In search science, the radius of hope expands inversely to its probability. At grid Alpha 7, nothing found but winds echo across empty ravines. By May 25th, Morales' parents arrived at Vermilion Command Post. Local records confirmed temporary civilian inclusion under supervision. Andrea maintained log of each day's sequence, handwritten, neat columns of times, teams, and returned routes. On camera footage archived day 5, Andrea whispers during intake briefing she wouldn't go off trail. Psychological observers note this insistence recurring verbatim through interviews, a coping pattern of deferred belief. Forensic insertion: average dehydration exposure in desert conditions approximates 72 hours under sun without water. By that calculation, survival margin retracted hourly. Auditory layer: wind through tarp shelters, murmured radio checks, paper ruffling. Maria and Robert Morales arrived at 11:47 hours. Command post security footage shows them embracing Andrea before being escorted to the family briefing area, a cordoned section of the ranger station with privacy screens and separate communication equipment. Their faces show the particular tension of parents entering a search operation, hope battling against mathematical probability. Family Liaison Officer Veronica Tsosi established documentation protocols. Her report notes the Morales family's composed cooperation. Parents provided detailed information on subjects' outdoor experience, training history, and behavioral patterns under stress. This information expanded the psychological profile, guiding search parameters. The command center maintained its procedural rhythm. Search teams continued grid clearance, now extending to hotel sectors, the outer perimeter of probability based on statistical models. The operation had expanded to include 36 personnel, 2 helicopters, 3 K-9 units, and technical climbing teams for ravine assessment. In the family area, the Morales family maintained their own parallel operation. Andrea's notebook, later included in case files, shows her meticulous recording. Team Bravo returned 15:30. Negative contact. South Ridge complete. Each entry followed by a small check mark. When interviewed about this documentation, Andrea explained, "I needed to know exactly what had been searched, what was left, where they could still be." The precision offered control within uncertainty. By afternoon, Robert Morales joined a photographer to create enhanced images of Elena's distinctive red backpack and Reynolds' camera, equipment for distribution to search teams. The high-contrast photos emphasized unique identifiers, a Northern Arizona University sticker on Elena's water bottle, a custom strap on Reynolds' camera case. Meanwhile, clinical calculations continued in the medical assessment unit. Dr. Helen Johnston updated the survival probability model based on elapsed time, temperatures, and available water sources. Her report, time-stamped 14:30 hours, notes, subjects presumed to carry 2 liters each at departure. Given temperatures and exertion levels, critical dehydration threshold approaches at 72 hours post-disappearance. The mathematical precision of this assessment contrasted sharply with Maria Morales' quiet insistence to the family liaison. "Elena knows desert survival. She would find water. She would signal." As evening approached, the command post prepared for reduced search operations during darkness. Thermal imaging would continue from air units while ground teams retreated for mandatory rest periods. The operational board now showed 64% of probable terrain cleared. Beneath the methodical exterior, search coordinator notes reveal increasing concern. Day 4, approaching with no contact, no trace evidence, no signal reception. Transition to extended parameters warranted. The procedural term extended parameters carried unspoken weight, the transition point where search operations begin considering scenarios beyond rescue. Hope persisted as procedure's shadow companion. Family remained on site, signal still unconfirmed. Late evening of May 26th, Team Bravo located partial camp debris 2 miles northwest of Cathedral Wash, a crumpled metal canteen, sand abrasion marks along trail edge. Serial numbers matched Morales' equipment list, scene documented under infrared scan, photo series 2. Footage reveals partial boot impression, size consistent with Reynolds. Soil test indicated displacement within 48 hours prior discovery. Deputy Ruiz's field audio. Canteen looks dropped, not placed. Reposition gravity suggests run. Forensic divide. 1 trail descending canyon shelf, ending abruptly. The discovery came at 21:18 hours, reported via radio by Search Team Bravo leader Marcus Howard. Base, we have potential evidence item at coordinates. North 36 degrees, 48 minutes, west 111 degrees, 37 minutes. Request evidence response unit. Night Operations Coordinator Sarah Weaver immediately dispatched the evidence collection team with portable lighting equipment. Audio captures the atmosphere, boots on loose gravel, equipment cases being unlatched, the hum of generator-powered lights establishing a work perimeter in the darkness. Forensic technician James Littlefeather documented the scene with methodical precision. His voiced notes, recorded for the evidence log, Item appears to be standard aluminum canteen, moderate denting on south-facing side, cappy, missing. Surrounding soil shows disturbance pattern approximately 3 feet in diameter. Partial boot impression visible at northeast edge, directionally oriented downslope. The soil impression indicated a heel strike consistent with someone running or moving quickly, not the regular pattern of normal hiking movement. Soil density testing suggested the impression occurred between 24 and 48 hours prior to discovery, placing it within the timeline after Morales and Reynolds were already reported missing. Deputy Ruiz arrived on scene at 22:40 hours. His assessment, captured on body camera, reveals the first transition in search mentality. This isn't consistent with normal gear abandonment. The pattern suggests hurried movement, possible pursuit scenario. The canteen underwent immediate field testing. Serial number D3892M matched the equipment log from Morales' purchase receipt. Trace evidence collection revealed partial fingerprints confirmed to match Morales, along with an unidentified smudge pattern. Most significant was the canteen's location, 2.4 miles northwest of their planned route, in a drainage area not marked on standard trail maps. Search Coordinator Weaver's log entry notes. Location inconsistent with intended path. Subjects either significantly disoriented or deliberately diverted. By midnight, the evidence had been photographed, collected, and the site marked for expanded search concentration at first light. Thermal imaging continued overnight, focusing on the new search radius calculated from the evidence location. Statistical analysis shifted dramatically. The new evidence expanded the probable search area by 17 square miles and introduced questions about intentionality that the operation had not previously considered. Team Bravo's final sweep before returning to base captured an atmospheric detail noted in technician Littlefeather's supplemental report. Unusual acoustic properties in the canyon section. Human voices echo but distort, making direction difficult to determine. A person calling for help from within this zone might be audible but not locatable. By morning, the evidence would transform the search parameters from lost hikers to potential emergency evasion. Every discovery in the wild narrates its opposite, proof that someone fled, tangible absence shaped by impact. Evidence item 01 logged, chain of custody established, subject status pending. Morning of May 27th, satellite tracking system detected residual beacon pulse, faint, intermittent, originating 20 miles east near Little Colorado Gorge. Search Squadron Echo deployed, locating nothing but fractured terrain and animal burrows. Engineers later attributed reading to atmospheric reflection, yet the family transcript captures Andrea's response word for word. If it pinged once, she was alive. Case supervisors noted emotional contagion in operations, crew fatigue, prayer circles. After shift, National Park Psych Liaison advised rotation. The signal detection occurred at 0612 hours, registered through the Emergency Satellite Monitoring Network. Tracking specialist Dana Rodriguez identified the pulse as matching the frequency assigned to the emergency beacon carried by Morales and Reynolds. Her technical report states, signal strength 4.2 on scale of 10. Insufficient for directional triangulation, but consistent with emergency beacon activation. The operations center transformed instantly. Deputy Ruiz ordered immediate deployment of Search Squadron Echo, specialists in technical terrain extraction, via helicopter to the approximate coordinates. The mission briefing captured on command center audio reveals measured urgency. We have potential beacon activation near Little Colorado confluence. Approach with full rescue capability. This is our first confirmed signal since disappearance. Family liaison transcripts show the delicate communication challenge. Officer Tsosi informed the Morales family using precise language. We've detected a potential emergency signal. I want to emphasize this is unconfirmed and could be a technical anomaly. Teams are responding now. Andrea Morales' response: if it pinged once, she was alive, became a touchstone phrase repeated among family members and eventually among search personnel. Helicopter Sierra 4 departed at 06:38 hours with Squadron Echo aboard. Pilot audio captures the journey, rotor wash, navigation checks, the distant sound of canyon winds. Squadron leader Catherine Blackwell maintains regular communication. Approaching coordinate zone, visibility good, beginning aerial assessment. For 3 hours, Squadron Echo conducted intensive search operations in the signal area. Their sweep patterns covered approximately 4 square miles of canyon terrain. Technical climbers rappelled into 3 separate ravines. K9 units searched accessible plateaus. By midday, the mission yielded no physical evidence, no visual confirmation, no repeated signal. Back at command, satellite engineers conducted signal analysis. Their report, submitted at 1400 hours, concluded signal characteristics consistent with atmospheric reflection of unrelated transmission, signal strength and pattern inconsistent with direct beacon activation. The technical explanation did little to diminish the emotional impact. Search personnel had experienced the surge of hope that accompanies potential contact, followed by the particular deflation of technical dismissal. Psychological support specialist Dr. Maya Williams noted in her daily assessment, search operation showing signs of emotional fatigue. Personnel forming prayer circles spontaneously during breaks. Observed 3 team leads checking satellite data repeatedly despite engineering conclusions. The operational impact manifested in subtle ways. Rangers checking equipment more frequently. Helicopter, pilots requesting additional fuel to extend search patterns. K9 handlers spending extra time with their animals between deployments. By evening briefing, Deputy Ruiz implemented rotation scheduling. No team works more than 3 consecutive days without mandatory 24-hour recovery. The protocol acknowledged the psychological toll of sustained searching without results. For the Morales family, the beacon signal, valid or not, represented the first tangible connection to Elena since her disappearance. Maria Morales was recorded asking for the exact coordinates, writing them carefully in Andrea's notebook. Faith operates as counter-surveillance. The need to believe signals are truths, not echoes. Signal confirmed false. Contact frequency discontinued. June 2nd, civilian tourists reported makeshift shelter under ledge near Pariah Canyon. SAR responded within 2 hours. Result negative. Shelter debris identified as Ranger tarp lost in March storm. The incident triggered internal audit after social media speculation. Public fear escalated. Park visitation dropped 40% during June. Operational fatigue now evident. Transmissions shorter. Tones clipped. Copy negative. Return base. The report came from a hiking group led by tour guide Marcus Denton. His call to Ranger dispatch, time-stamped 1312 hours. Approximately 2 miles north of the Pariah Canyon Junction, east-facing rock shelf, what appears to be intentional shelter construction, possibly related to the missing hikers. Search and rescue deployed immediately. Helicopter footage shows the approach. Limestone cliffs rising from desert floor, narrow ledges visible along fractured face. Team Delta reached the location at 1520 hours, documenting their assessment through helmet cameras. The site contained scattered debris, weathered blue tarp material, frayed cord sections, a single tent stake corroded by exposure. Initial excitement quickly faded as forensic examination revealed degradation consistent with months of weathering, not days. Ranger Marion Swift recognized the materials. This matches the emergency shelter kit reported missing during March flash flood response. Serial imprints confirm Park Service equipment, not civilian gear. The false lead created cascading consequences. Within hours, social media accounts spread unverified claims that evidence is being discovered but hidden from public. Regional news outlets ran headlines questioning search effectiveness. By evening, the command center phone system became overwhelmed with calls offering theories and demanding information. Park Superintendent Charles Wilson issued a public statement at 1800 hours. We understand public concern regarding the Morales-Reynolds search operation. All credible leads are being fully investigated with transparency. Today's reported shelter was confirmed to be unrelated park equipment from a previous incident. The statement did little to counter narrative momentum. Visitor check-ins at Marble Canyon dropped by 28% the following day. By week's end, park statistics would show a 40% reduction in overall visitation. Within the search operation, psychological strain became increasingly evident. Radio transmissions between teams and base shortened to minimal confirmation phrases. Team leaders reported increased difficulty maintaining search discipline. Dr. Williams's psychological assessment noted personnel exhibiting classic signs of search fatigue, reduced verbal communication, mechanical execution of tasks, emotional detachment from briefings. The operational rhythm continued, but the human toll accumulated. Deputy Ruiz's log entry that evening contains a single line that breaks from procedural documentation. 14 days. 0 viable contacts. For the Morales family, the false lead represented another emotional whiplash. Andrea's journal entry, later included in the case file, reveals the psychological impact. Another day of waiting for the radio to say something different. Every call sounds the same now. The search for the missing often transforms into pursuit of meaning, terrain becomes mirror, search suspended for re-evaluation, file classification, unresolved sector. On September 9th, 2025, recreational climbers exploring the lower rim near Navajo Bridge reported discovery of skeletal remains and camera equipment lodged against rock cleft. Environmental factors had eroded soft tissue, items preserved by dry suspension. Evidence log lists 2 items: DSLR camera body, serial 124ABH90, torn backpack strap, identification pending at discovery. Climber's call transcript records. It didn't look recent, it looked placed. Later forensic imaging confirmed proximity within 8 meters to both remains, suggesting static positioning post-mortem. The discovery occurred at 11:23 hours when climbers Jacob Fenton and Melissa Wu encountered the remains while exploring an unmapped crevice system. Their emergency call routed through National Park Service dispatch. We found what appears to be human remains and some equipment. Location approximately half-mile east of Navajo Bridge, Lower Canyon section. Ranger Response Unit 4 arrived on scene at 12:05 hours. Body camera footage shows the methodical documentation process. The remains rested in a natural stone alcove 27 feet below the canyon rim. Visible skeletal elements included cranial fragments, partial vertebrae, and long bone segments. Nearby, a DSLR camera body with damaged lens mount lay positioned on a flat rock surface. Forensic investigator Teresa Hammond's initial assessment. Remains show extensive environmental exposure consistent with prolonged outdoor placement. Minimal soft tissue preservation. No obvious trauma visible at preliminary examination. The camera equipment underwent immediate identification protocol, serial number 124. ABH90 matched the equipment registration for Daniel Reynolds's professional Nikon D850, purchased 18 months before disappearance. The torn backpack strap featured a distinctive red carabiner attachment consistent with Elena Morales' gear inventory. Most significant was Wu's observation, recorded in her witness statement. The camera wasn't just there, it was placed on a flat rock, lens mount facing up like it was deliberately positioned. This assessment, initially dismissed as witness interpretation, gained significance during subsequent forensic analysis. By 1400 hours, a full evidence recovery team had established operations at the site. Special Agent Thomas Rivera from the FBI Evidence Response Team supervised the recovery process. His preliminary report notes, scene characteristics inconsistent with accidental fall or natural element dispersion. Items show evidence of deliberate placement within protected recess. Spatial analysis documented 8 meters separation between the two remains, a distance unlikely to occur through natural decomposition processes. Laboratory Director Sharon White's assessment, positioning suggests post-mortem movement or arrangement rather than final resting position from natural death event. The recovery operation continued through nightfall, utilizing specialized lighting equipment and forensic documentation protocols. Each element was photographed in situ, mapped for spatial relationships, and collected with full chain of custody documentation. By the following morning, preliminary DNA testing had begun at the Northern Arizona Forensic Laboratory. Sample comparison with family reference materials provided during the initial search operation allowed for rapid identification. For Andrea Morales, the notification came via phone call from Deputy Ruiz at 0930 hours, September 10th. The transcript reveals his measured delivery. We have recovered remains that are being tested for identification. I need to prepare you for the likelihood these are connected to Elena and Daniel. Chance, the least empirical of investigative tools, often closes the file's built-on method. Recovery initiated. Scene parameters sealed. DNA confirmed matches to Morales and Reynolds within 72 hours. Yet post-cranial trauma, wrist abrasions, and fiber evidence contradicted simple fall theory. Investigators revisited May search perimeter, tracing uncharted fissures southeast of Cathedral Wash. There they uncovered subterranean crevice used as transient camp. Items recovered, nylon cords, dehydrated food, and tattered bandanas exhibiting mixed blood profiles. FBI behavioral analysis appended note, indications of prolonged confinement, duration undetermined, possible secondary party involvement. Parallel case comparison. 2017 abductions near Moab Canyon, documented cult activity identified as sovereign resurgence. The forensic analysis, completed at the Northern Arizona Medical Examiner's facility, revealed disturbing inconsistencies. Medical examiner Dr. Sanjay Patel's report, dated September 14th, documents Subject 1, Morales, exhibits ligature marks on remaining wrist bones, consistent with prolonged restraint. Subject 2, Reynolds, displays atypical fracture patterns to cervical vertebrae, inconsistent with falling trauma. Crime scene investigators returned to the Cathedral Wash area with new search parameters. Special Agent Rivera's operational directive specified focus on concealed terrain features capable of obscuring human presence for extended periods. On September 16th, the search team discovered a previously unmapped fissure system half a mile southeast of where Morales' canteen had been recovered. The narrow entrance, partially obscured by rock fall, led to a chamber approximately 12 feet by 15 feet, with ceiling height of 7 feet. Evidence collection is documented a makeshift living space, stone fire ring containing ash residue, nylon cord fragments anchored to natural rock formations, food packaging with manufacturing dates corresponding to the disappearance time frame. Most significant were the blood evidence patterns on rock surfaces and cloth fragments. Forensic technician Littlefeather's evidence log notes: blood transfer patterns on vertical surfaces consistent with restrained subjects. Sample collection reveals multiple sources confirmed through preliminary testing. DNA analysis later matched these samples to both Morales and Reynolds, along with a third unidentified genetic profile. The FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit conducted a preliminary review based on recovered evidence. Their assessment, submitted September 20th, outlined a disturbing conclusion. Scene characteristics indicate planned abduction and containment rather than opportunistic encounter. Evidence suggests subjects were held at the location for undetermined period before death events. This analysis prompted investigators to review similar cases within the region. Record search identified a 2017 investigation near Moab, Utah, involving hikers temporarily held by an individual associated with a fringe group self-identified as Sovereign Resurgence. That case resulted in victims escaping and suspect fleeing before apprehension. Park Ranger Hollis, reviewing the file comparisons, recognized equipment similarities. The cord configuration used in the canyon hideout matches the restraint method described in the Moab case. Investigators now focused on regional wilderness predator patterns rather than environmental accidents. Cross-reference with National Missing Persons Database identified 3 additional unsolved disappearances in remote wilderness areas between 2017 and 2020, all with similar victim profiles. Experienced outdoor recreationists traveling in pairs. The investigation transitioned formally from accidental death to suspected homicide on September 21st. FBI Assistant Director Claudia Hernandez authorized full resources under federal lands murder protocol. Her directive reads, "Evidence indicates systematic predation in wilderness areas requiring immediate multi-agency response. Some wilderness crimes mimic survival training, discipline twisted into predation, reclassification, missing persons to homicide, cross-jurisdictional collaboration initiated." Late October 2025, agents executed warrant near Tuba City residence of former wilderness guide Jacob Hepler, previously questioned in unrelated missing hiker incident. GPS search of his devices aligned with dormant coordinates around Cathedral Wash on dates corresponding to initial disappearance. Court documents confirmed discovery of confiscated recordings showing victims bound, disoriented, dehydrated. No overt violence shown, only control, enforced silence. Hepler's statement under custody, verbatim transcript excerpt. "They were alive longer than anyone cared to look." Emotionless tone, sentence unbroken. Prosecutors initiated federal proceedings, citing multiple acts of kidnapping, resulting death. The arrest operation began at 0400 hours on October 25th. FBI tactical response secured the perimeter while evidence teams simultaneously executed the search warrant. Body camera footage shows a modest house situated on 3 acres of isolated land 12 miles outside Tuba City. Hepler offered no resistance. Agent Rivera's arrest report notes, "Subject appeared to expect our arrival. No attempt to flee or destroy evidence." The search revealed meticulous documentation of wilderness activities spanning 7 years. Most disturbing were digital storage devices containing video recordings of Morales and Reynolds in captivity. Forensic analysis confirmed the background matched the cave system discovered near Cathedral Wash. FBI evidence technician Sandra Lopez documented the files. Subjects appear disoriented, dehydrated, restrained with methods matching physical evidence recovered from scene. Timestamps indicate recording continued for 9 days after initial disappearance. When formally questioned about motive, Hepler provided the statement that would define the case. They were alive longer than anyone cared to look. Case psychologist Dr. Williams noted, subject displays classic predator satisfaction in system manipulation, not overtly violent gratification. Documentation converts atrocity into sequence numbers, the only way institutions survive memory. Case file sealed pending trial proceedings. Between January and March 2026, legal proceedings finalized partial conviction under plea agreement. Hepler received life confinement. Families requested privacy. In March, the Marble Canyon Ranger Station installed new policy notes, mandatory GPS verification check-ins every 4 hours during solo or pair expeditions. File language reads, clinically, to enhance situational accountability. Andrea Morales is recorded visiting the site on May 21st, 1 year later. Video shows her standing at trail register where Elena's smudge remains visible beneath laminated surface. She touches it, looks toward horizon, no dialogue, environmental sounds, wind friction across signpost metal, distant hum of an approaching ranger truck, crows circling above the plateau. Federal court records show Hepler pleaded guilty to 2 counts of kidnapping resulting in death in exchange for avoiding capital punishment. The plea deal required full disclosure of methodology and other potential victims. Sentencing Judge Maria Rodriguez imposed consecutive life terms without possibility of parole. The case prompted National Park Service review of wilderness safety protocols across 27 parks and monuments. Implementation of the Morales-Reynolds Safety Directive began in March 2026, requiring all solo and pair hikers to carry satellite communication devices with 4-hour automated check-in capability. Park Ranger Hollis, who first documented Morales and Reynolds' departure, now conducts the mandatory safety briefings. Surveillance footage shows him demonstrating the new check-in system to visitors, pointing specifically to the emergency override function. Andrea Morales established a Wilderness Safety Foundation in her sister's name. The organization provides emergency communication devices to hikers who cannot afford them. Their brochure includes a single line from Andrea's impact statement at sentencing. No one should disappear in places meant for discovery. Procedure evolves. Lost does not. Visitor log entry updated. Morales, A. Observation only. Twilight camera still. The same Marble Canyon register, laminated paper fluttering inside cracked glass. Elena's original signature half erased, half preserved, merged with trail dust. No narration, only one overlay from the final report. Recovered at coordinate grid, Alpha 7, case permanently archived. Field silence replaces voice. The wind carries static across red shale, steady, indifferent, exact.